So, hi, Laura. We're so excited to have you today. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. How are you today?
Doing really good. So excited to talk to you today. I guess we'll start. Tell us what actually made you start, and how exactly did you get started in this whole new journey of your life?
Well, it really started with being very unhappy with what I was doing in my life and just feeling like really disconnected from my purpose. And I had started a spiritual journey in 2014 and just kind of steadily growing from there. So, about 2019, I'd say I was really just unhappy with where I was working, and I just kept saying, I want to, own my own business and be my own boss and all of that. And so I kind of connected with, spirituality, but the part of spirituality that I always was really drawn to as a child, which was like magic and tarot and all of that stuff. And it was kind of funny because I helped a couple of people with like relationship issues just by
Mhm.
being myself. And then somebody was like, you should be a counselor. And then, just by being online, I found this stuff for life coaching. And so
Mhm.
I just kind of thought that that would be a good place to start. So um, I kind of just took the course and went with it because I thought, hey, I can't get any more unhappy than I already
Right.
am, so let's just try it.
That's incredible. And what kind of did you encounter any failures along the way getting to where you are now?
Yeah, well, I mean, do you mean in terms of my business or just in life?
Well, I guess both, because I think sometimes, things do happen in our personal life that definitely do affect the business part of it as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'd say I'd say I had my hurdles before I started down the spiritual path, basically.
Mhm.
I was just, hanging out with the wrong people. I had gotten into drugs and stuff like that and was in a really bad place for a couple of years. And then, um, like I said, I basically changed my life and,
Mhm.
flipped my whole life on its head and started down the spiritual journey. And so basically, when I started the entrepreneurship journey, it was like meeting that unknown all over again. And
Right.
so many, like I had already done so much healing and stuff on my
Mhm.
journey up until that point. And then when I started entrepreneurship, it was like a whole new box of worms, like
Yeah.
a whole, or can of worms, excuse me, like in terms of meeting fears that I had never encountered before
Mhm.
and just challenging myself in different ways that I had never thought of before. So that
Mhm.
was really interesting to me.
That's amazing. And how did you overcome those things?
Well, I used tools that I've learned over the years, but honestly, what helped me the most is dancing and actually
Oh, that's amazing.
physically moving your body is helps you to change the physiology of it, and
Mhm.
so that really helps me when I'm feeling down, but also remembering how far I've come and
Mhm.
how bad things were for me at one point, and
Right.
just knowing that I'm never going back to that again. So, really
Mhm.
being grateful for how far I've come and the things that I've learned, and always remembering that this is a life journey and
Mhm.
I'm never going to have it figured out. We're always going to
Mhm.
learn new things. So, I try to keep it in perspective that if I have a challenge, I try to step back from it and say, okay, what is this trying to show me? How can I slow down and use this in the most beneficial way for me?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is really, really amazing. And I think your words are so true and so moving. So, I guess this is
Well, thank
probably a
you.
little taste of what someone can get when they work with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I just try to be as authentic as I can be and share my own
Mhm.
experiences because one thing that I kind of learned throughout my life is that a lot of people are looking for someone to relate to them and to really
Mm-hmm.
understand. And I find that when I share my own struggles and things that I use personally for myself, that
Mm-hmm.
seems to help people the most. You know,
That is so true.
yeah, if they can really, if they can see you and see, wow, this is another human being and they've also experienced these struggles, even though they are at this place that I'm not at yet and I want to be, I can still
Mm-hmm.
see that they still have their own things that they struggle with, so they're still human. I feel like it helps people to connect to their coach more. So it's not like having a therapist where a therapist is bound and can't say certain things or share
Right.
opinions. You know, when you have a
Right.
coach, you can connect with them on a more personal level.
That is a really, really great point. That
Yeah.
is amazing. So, if you had to give any advice to yourself, knowing what you know now, what
Mm.
would that advice be?
I feel like that's such a loaded question
It is.
because there's so many things that I would want to say, but I'd say the main thing I would probably say to my younger self if I had the opportunity was, you know, listen to yourself, listen to your heart, and go with your gut, and don't do things because you want to be accepted
Mm-hmm.
or out of fear that you're not going to be liked, because that was the main thing that took me off of my own journey. I mean, everybody has their own path, and I don't regret
Mm-hmm.
anything that I went through. But
Right.
if I was listening to my true self instead of, well, maybe I should do this because I want to be popular, or I want these people to like me, or this is what
Mm-hmm.
I think my parents think that I should do, like,
Right.
I feel like the biggest piece of advice is really just that, like, your heart and your intuition and your gut will always guide you in the right direction. And when I started to listen to that, my whole life changed, and it's been for the better ever since. So,
That's
yeah.
so amazing.
Yeah.
So, so amazing to hear. And I think that that's, I mean, I think that that's probably something that we all feel for sure.
Yeah.
And I think it's the scariest part is actually pulling the trigger, going
Absolutely.
from, you know, the old unhappy life to the new happy life. But you know, it's a difficult thing to do for a lot of different reasons,
Yeah.
for whatever your situation is. And I think it's more difficult for women because
Yeah.
I think we get less support just in general.
Absolutely. I
So I
agree.
guess what was it for you? How did you officially pull that trigger?
Oh, wow. Well, I was so unhappy for so long, and
Mhm.
I was at a point where I didn't recognize myself when I looked in the mirror, and I was like, what are you doing with
Mhm.
your life?
Yeah.
And I still didn't listen for a little while, and I had what I love to share this with my clients if you'll indulge me for a moment. Um,
Absolutely.
I always like to share this experience that I had, which I like to call a tower moment. And it works for me because, you know, I use tarot, and there's an actual card in tarot, which is the tower. And so a tower could be good or not so comfortable because it's about change. And so the one thing that
Right.
I
Okay.
have found in life is that the constant in life is change. So I basically was at a point where I wasn't listening, but I knew something had to change. I just hadn't pulled the trigger yet. And then it was
Mm.
like the universe or God, or however you see that for yourself, kind of came in and gave me a tower moment. It was like, oh, okay, so you've heard the call, but you're not doing anything. Let me do it
Right.
for you. And so I lost my car, I lost college, I couldn't pay for college anymore, I mentally
Yeah.
couldn't work a job, and I didn't even have a phone, and I had stopped hanging out with all of the friends that weren't really my friends, and that was the
Right.
biggest thing for me, is that everything got ripped away. So from then on my journey, when I feel that innately, like now when I
Mm.
feel something has to change, I'm like, okay, let me change it because I don't want to
Yeah.
experience that again. But
Right.
sometimes, you know, we need something to really shake us out of our autopilot that we're in, because that's what I've seen is that's the scariest thing for people, is to make a change. They get so comfortable where they're at that they're afraid of the unknown. So like to me, like everything being ripped away was like that jolt that like, okay, you need to listen to this. And so, now I listen to that call whenever I hear it.
That is incredible. I love that analogy as well of the tower.
Yeah.
That is so good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you have any kind of daily advice for women to, when we start the day, that can empower us? Or do you have any little routines that you do that kind of help you stay in tune?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I find that when I don't do these things too, I can feel it in my body immediately that I'm off, or like out of balance. But what I like to do is take the first couple minutes in the morning. And, some people do well with routines. I need to switch. Like, I have a routine, but I like to switch up the steps.
Okay.
So I'll usually start off with, like, some kind of meditation before I get out of bed, because so many of us just get up and then we get on our phones.
Yes.
And that can really take you down a rabbit hole very quickly. And
true.
so, like, I'll either do a meditation or I'll get outside first thing in the morning and connect to some kind of elemental nature, whether it's like the earth or water or fire, by listening to like the birds and all of the movement going on outside. That really helps me to ground into my own intuition and hear my own inner voice. And so I'll do that, and then I like to do some, yoga stretches or some kind of physical body work, whether that's dancing or stretching or doing a little exercise in the morning. I think that's really important to not only awaken yourself to your own inner voice, but to connect to your body, because our bodies are always speaking to us. So I find that it's really important to somehow ground into your body after doing a kind of, awareness meditation, or just getting really quiet and allowing your own mind and body to turn on in the morning without getting on the TV or getting on your phone or your computer or anything like that. And breath work, I like to mix in breath work too. It's very powerful as well.
It really, I've done the breath work for about a year now, and it really is incredible. I mean, we all think we know how to breathe, but it's really amazing.
Yeah.
You just have to, you'll go down a good rabbit hole. Just go on YouTube and just look up breath work.
Absolutely.
and just, it really is.
Don't you love it?
Incredible.
Did it change your life? I know I'm like asking you a question here, but like, did it change anything for you when you started?
Oh, definitely. I don't know if I don't really know at what point I realized it, but it was kind of just one day I go, oh my gosh, like I can, like, how you can feel everything in your body more.
Absolutely.
Is how I say it. You're more in tune with like the feeling in your body, and I think that's just because like you're actually putting the right amount of oxygen throughout it.
Yeah. And people don't think about
really
that.
amazing.
Like, it's such a simple thought, but there's like a lot of things that I learned with breath work. Like, I didn't realize that, because some people do this really intense breath work where, you're breathing in and out of your mouth. And I didn't realize that when we breathe in and out of our mouth like that, it tells our brain that we are in like stress mode or like fight or flight mode, because when you're running, you're usually breathing in and out of your mouth. So I just learned so many cool things with breath work, and the feeling that you get physically is just amazing. I think it's
absolutely.
It's like being high on life, but like just by your breath.
It is. It definitely is. Like I've known people to have almost hallucinogenic experiences.
Yes.
While truly meditating while doing the breath work and things. And I don't know if I've really gotten to that point. I've definitely gotten to a point where I can feel all of my extremities tingling.
Yes.
Almost like something's gonna go numb, but in a nice way.
Yeah.
Not in a negative way.
Yeah, I've definitely
So
felt
it's
that as
really,
well.
yeah, it's really an incredible thing.
Yeah, I love it. I had a really cool experience one time where I was doing it outside, and
Mm-hmm.
as soon as I finished, and I like to do it with my eyes closed because I can feel everything in my
Mm-hmm.
body more that
Right.
way. And when I opened my eyes, like a hawk flew right in front of me, like right across my vision. And it was like the most, like, I love any kind of spiritual experience like that. And I
Yeah,
was just like, oh, that made my whole day.
that is so amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't tried it outside yet, but that'll definitely have to be something that I try this summer for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. And so I know that you work with astrology and numerology as well.
Yeah.
What is, I guess this is, I get so confused out of the two of them. I mean, I know that numerology has to do with numbers,
Yeah.
but it is kind of tied in with astrology, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It's all energy.
Okay.
So first off, it's just energy. It's nothing to be afraid of. But every number basically has a different vibration. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so, like one, just as like a quick, one is like the
Mm-hmm.
initiator. Two is about, and each number has so many different levels to it as well, because
Right.
two is like when you meet that other part of yourself or your connection to God or spirit. And it's
Mm-hmm.
also about relationships with yourself and with the other people. Three is about creativity, and I could go on and give you
Right.
all of the things, but what I like to do for my clients is give them their Astro-numerology report, which is
Mm-hmm.
like the main, I'd say the main five energies astrologically.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do sun, moon, rising, Venus, and Mercury because that's your love language and how you communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the numbers, it's kind of like helping people figure out their life path. So just as an example, when I
Mm-hmm.
was really lost and I didn't really know what my purpose was or what I wanted to do, I was like singing and acting a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And there was something kind of missing. And when I found, I did my life path number, which you can find via your birthday. Um,
Okay.
I'm a 7 life path number, which is all about spirituality. And I was like, wow, okay. And it kind of connected me to like my inner child when I used to be into all of that stuff. Because, as you grow up, you kind of get conditioned and, you forget about things, or you're told like that's bad or that's
Right.
stupid, you shouldn't be doing that, so that
Right.
really kind of, it was like, I don't know, it was kind of like an internal permission slip, like, hey, remember this thing? Like, this is what you're all about. And so,
Right.
your life path number is kind of gives you an idea of what path to take. And then the destiny number is kind of like your vehicle to get there. So my number is 6, which is about nurturing and health and mental health and many other things. But
Mm-hmm.
it's, if you can see it in this way, it's like I nurture and help people heal with or through spirituality. You see what I
That's
mean?
very, yeah.
So, like, there's other numbers too that I do in the Astro-numerology report to really
Mm-hmm.
help people, but I feel like when people get this information, it's like something opens up in them and blossoms, and they're like, oh my gosh, like, and I find it so interesting because whenever I do it with somebody, they remember something from their childhood that they really
Yeah.
love to do. So I just think it's so
That is so
interesting.
cool. That
Yeah.
is so cool. I'm definitely gonna have to get one from you for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and
That'd be so
if
so
not
cool.
for nothing, but to just let you know like what your general energies are and where you would
Hmm.
thrive in different types of energies, it's really good for that too. And yes, I would love to do a report for you. Please.
That is amazing. And yeah, I do. I mean, I think that's really interesting too because I think talking about before what you said, we are kind of all conditioned in different ways, and I mean, I grew up with a cousin who was always told that she was, beautiful inside and out, and she is, and that she was very talented at singing. Not so much. So we can be conditioned, and I mean, I look at Kanye West, he was conditioned to be confident, which isn't a bad thing,
Yeah.
but, conditioned to be arrogant, probably not a good conditioning.
Yeah,
So,
no,
I think
absolutely not.
I think it's a good thing to kind of check in and just kind of see,
Yeah, like there's always so many things. Like a client that I just had the other day
mhm,
said, "Oh wow, my husband is always telling me that I have a chemical imbalance and I should
mhm,
probably get on medication." And you know, through her report, she realized I'm like, "No, that's not you having a chemical imbalance." We learned through
mhm,
her energies that this is because she has so many planets in air signs, and so
okay,
this really stimulates how she takes in stimuli mentally and emotionally. And so she can become off balance if she doesn't
mhm,
keep in mind that she needs to take alone time, and that not only that, but not everybody is going to take information and respond the way she does. So sometimes she'll get upset if somebody's not
yeah,
as emotional as her. So it's like it
right,
really helped her to realize, like, oh, wow, like this thing my husband was saying to me is totally not true, you know?
yeah,
So, not that I don't think he was trying to do anything to like
no,
put her down or anything, but he was just like, whoa, and it helped her at the end. She
right,
was she was like, thank you so much. Like, now I completely understand. And
mhm,
she also found a limiting belief that started from childhood in our session as well, just from the things that she was saying to me.
mhm,
So it can really help you peel away the layers of things that have been there that you just don't even realize.
right. Well,
Yeah.
I think any way that we can get to know ourselves better is a positive.
Absolutely. I agree. I agree
Absolutely.
100%.
So to kind of go back on the numerology just a little bit
Yeah.
is I have heard of these things called angel numbers.
Yeah.
And when you look at the clock and you see like 1717
Yeah.
or 1111 is the really popular one.
Yeah.
Is that any different
So,
than the astronumerology or how is that is it connected in any way or
yeah, absolutely. So, um, let's take. I'd like to take a controversial one. Let's take
okay.
666
Yes.
because so many people have been, there's so much information from the churches over,
Right.
hundreds of years that say what this number means. So,
Right.
if you draw it, it looks like a pregnant woman. And
It kind
again,
of does, yeah.
the six is the number of like nurturing and
Okay.
motherhood, balance, harmony. There's so many different words that you could tack on to this number. But when you
Mhm.
see a number repeated, it's like the vibration is multiplied. So I actually was seeing this for a little while, and so I looked it up, and you can Google or YouTube, and people will tell you what they mean. But another
Right.
important thing is to take the meaning that fits for you in that moment and what you're going through. And for me, at that time, I read that one of the meanings, if you see this
Mhm.
number a lot, is your relationships. Something in your relationships are out of harmony, and it asks you to look differently. And when I saw that, I was like, wow, that makes sense, because I was kind of having trouble in my romantic relationship at the time. It was like
Mhm.
asking me to look more into that. And so
Okay.
they all kind of mean something else. And if
Mhm.
you see your birthday, that's a whole nother meaning, because I was seeing my birthday numbers when I was becoming an
Oh wow.
entrepreneur. Yeah, and I looked it up, and it was strongly about your purpose. And so I was seeing this number when I was heavily investing and
Mhm.
wondering about my purpose and building on that. So
Mhm.
it's really interesting. And I definitely believe in angels, and I feel that they kind of come in and give you signs when they can, and it's really about how open you are. And so if you do see a number, I would just like look it up, because
Right.
you're going to get what this means together, So
That
yeah.
is so cool. I'm definitely gonna have to do that now, because I feel like I see a lot of numbers, like the same numbers a
Yeah,
lot.
if you're seeing
So
numbers repeating, those are the ones that
yeah,
are trying to get your attention for sure.
they're like, listen.
Yes, listen up.
That is so amazing. Well, you are definitely a spiritual warrior. Thank you so much
Oh,
for talking with us today.
absolutely.
We will
Thank you
definitely
for
have to
having
have you
me.
on again, because I don't think that there is enough time to actually go through everything in just one podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree, and I would love to come back and dive into some other topics, and I'm so honored. Like, really, thank you so much for, giving me the opportunity to speak and talk about this stuff, because I love it. So thank you very much.
Well, it was definitely a blessing for us as well, and all of the listeners. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put your email and your website information into the podcast in details sector.
Great.
So anyone can contact you if they want your services, or to reach out and ask you some questions. And yeah, we will definitely have to have you on again very, very soon.
Awesome. Yes,
Okay.
please do. Thank you so much for this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Laura.